Hello, my friends. I'm Harry, and my subscribers know who I am. You are on the Sci-Fi Film Channel. Today is a review of the fantastic horror series, Parasite: The Greys, which was released on Netflix on April 5th. This is a South Korean adaptation of the popular manga, Parasite, by Hitoshi Iwaki. From this video, you will find out who attacked humanity again, and whether the concept of the original source looks too strange on the silver screen. Pros: a sufficient number of moderately exciting moments, good special effects, and monster design. It gets more interesting closer to the end. Minuses: superficial social commentary, monotony of local action, uneven pacing of the story. A vibrant music festival is in full swing. Happy young people are rocking out on the dance floor to rousing tracks. But suddenly, strange rambutan fruits begin to fall from the sky like summer rain, from which vile worm-like creatures crawl out. One of them gets into the ear of a fashionable guy, and within a minute, the latter ceased to be the subject of everyone's attention. He turns into a terrible monster with tentacles instead of a head, starting a bloody knife fight. Meanwhile, a young girl, Chong Shu-yin, works as a cashier in a supermarket. There, a customer dissatisfied with the service makes a scene, and when he doesn't get what he wants, he leaves the premises with promises to kill everyone to hell. Later, the vindictive brawler attempts to fulfill his promise, but mysteriously dies instead of the victim. Chon is limited only by fear. Finally, several more important characters will appear in this story. In particular, the tough warrior with a shotgun at the ready, Choi Chun-kyung, who leads the special squad Team Grey. They are searching for mysterious creatures that subjugate human bodies and destroying them. To find the enemy's lair, a high-tech bucket was pulled over one of the captured parasites. Parasite: The Greys is not the first attempt by filmmakers to adapt Parasite into cinema. In 2014, the Japanese released 2 full-length films and an anime series in addition. As is usual in modern cinema, Hollywood, in particular the New Line Cinema Company, was once interested in the material, but it never did. When you first get acquainted with the synopsis and the appearance of the local horror stories, it may seem that this is just nonsense. But here it is worth remembering the original source, the cult manga by Hitoshi Iwaki, which actually offered a similar bizarre body horror. To implement it, the creators had to resort to obvious computer graphics, so all things considered, the series looks more like a dark superhero movie or another episode of Poul Anderson's late Resident Evil than creepy body horror in the spirit of Carpenter. If the main character of the original work was an ordinary Japanese schoolboy, and the space worm had to be content, no matter how strange it may sound, with the hand of a guy, then in the Netflix adaptation, an ordinary South Korean girl comes to the fore. Together with the uninvited guest in her body, she forms a tandem like Eddie Brock and Venom. The monsters look like the latest creations of the experiments of the Rabbit Umbrella Corporation and are made at a decent level. They are not stupid pieces of meat, like, for example, zombies in The Walking Dead, and therefore do not cause an instant apocalypse. The aliens are guided by intelligence, creating a secret organization, and their leader even plans to infiltrate the highest governing bodies. This approach makes these creatures similar to the series Braindead, where the aliens also had their own community and, under the guise of certain people, tried to occupy important positions to achieve goals. Parasite: The Greys can hardly be called an extremely fascinating story from which it is impossible to take your eyes off. As for a type of comic book film that is very far from monumental, there is too much chatter, and when it finally comes to the action, the cameraman immediately has an epileptic attack. Still, you expect something more from the director and screenwriter of Train to Busan. On the other hand, closer to the climax, the creators managed to place emphasis on the characters in such a way that the plot arouses, albeit restrained, but genuine curiosity. The stakes are raised, the tension is growing. The Iron Woman with a shotgun is more determined than ever. And fans of the manga will certainly appreciate the cameo appearance of one familiar character at the end. Actually, it was all for their sake that all this was started in the first place. Conclusion. The series Parasyte the Greys is definitely worth the attention of true science fiction fans, and will also delight fans of the manga or anime series of the same name. On this optimistic note, I want to end my story about this series. Subscribe and comment. May the Force be with you.